Can't do it. I can't do it. You cut it up. None of this will make it in. Anyway, is it rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Emily Van Buskirk. I'm a professor of Russian, East European, and comparative literature at Rutgers University, and this is Awesome Humans. I was very much a kind of idealist who wanted to go out there and solve the world's problems, solve Russia's environmental problems. So I wanted to study Russian and then somehow, save the planet from, starting from Russia. First thing I did was I went to teach English in Kazakhstan with a program called Princeton in Asia, and also worked on Russian democratization, met a bunch of really interesting Russian journalists, politicians who were coming to the United States to learn the techniques of building democratic institutions from American politicians. Unfortunately, Putin came to power at the end of that. I also had the opportunity as a child, I sang in the Metropolitan Opera long before I knew I would ever study Russian. I took 5 years of Latin, 3 years of French, and Czech. I learned German. Russian, countless years by now, since it's never ending. So what was I like as a college student? Very studious. I haunted this building, at all hours of the night. I was the director of an a cappella group, one of the renegade a cappella groups at Princeton. I was in the Glee Club. I did club tennis, in the orchestra. I was in a musical, and I was summa cum laude in my department. Teach a course called Literature and Revolution, Gender and Sexuality course, Russia's Wars, Stories of the Self. There are really so many things that I like about it. What is the best part of being a professor? Connecting with other human beings around an idea. When you're a professor, you're actually learning just as much as when you are a student. Watching people develop, watching people kind of get the bug for studying Russian literature. My first year at Rutgers, I walked into the class. I was just so surprised to just see 20 students in there, not knowing anything about me, just signed up for my class. They were there, and then a bunch of them continued to take my classes through the next semesters. So when you see a student kind of come back and take another class with you, that's really exciting. Getting to travel, I really get inspired by going to Russia, by speaking Russian, or by going to Prague and speaking Czech. It's like stepping into another dimension. Most of the time I have teaching days where I'll teach 2 classes. I really need to be fresh. I need to be on top of my game. Often I'll teach in the afternoon and evening, and all morning I'll be preparing for class. The most stressful part is getting to campus and getting parking on campus, getting to class on time. Teaching itself can be kind of stressful. Class is very intense. Teaching is you have these routine deadlines every week, and then you have conferences on the horizon, then you have publications that are due. It feels pretty amazing to hold one's own book, and then it's also nerve-wracking because one wants positive reception, but you never know. Lydia Ginsburg really fascinated me because I had a really hard time understanding her. So I was just kind of trying to figure her out in a sense. I ended up having exclusive access to her archive. I was editing a new translation for Random House, which is really exciting. This will have, really broad circulation. Vintage, Ginsburg is already vintage, she's reached a new level. I feel slightly hesitant to commit to something big, knowing that it could be the next decade of my life, as happened here, but also really eager to find that thing. I don't drink a ton of coffee. My caffeine intake is pretty regular. I think there are a lot of different formulas for being a good professor. It takes a lot of discipline, self-motivation. You kind of have to find your own path, and you have to make your own mark. You want to bring something original into the world. I came from Princeton, Harvard. Rutgers students are very different from Princeton and Harvard students, and I think one thing I really like about Rutgers students is that they don't have that sense of entitlement. Often more grateful. There's great linguistic, cultural diversity. More than half of Rutgers undergraduates grew up speaking a language other than English. I grew up in New York amidst diversity. That feels very at home to me. I feel still kind of young to be a professor. I have many, many years ahead. This has been Emily Van Buskirk, Rutgers University, The Tab.